G'day, Coach Ray here. I'm a triathlon and cycling coach who specialises in coaching beginner and recreational athletes to achieve their sporting as well as their health and fitness goals. Now in today's short video I'm going to take you through the power data and profile for Taylor Phinney of stage 4 of this year's Tour de France. Now stage 4 was 195 kilometres to Sarzeau, and there's an intermediary sprint at the 98 kilometre mark, with a bonus sprint at the 157k mark. Between the two sprints at the 136k mark, there's a category 4 climb that's 800 metres long at 7.8%. The day was a relatively mundane stage where a breakaway of 4 riders got out to 8 minutes at one point, and BMC controlled the pace. And towards the end of the stage, the sprinters team stepped up to assist to close the gap. The catch occurred in the last 10 kilometres, and then there was a crash with a bit over 5 kilometres to go on the stage. Some riders like Rigoberto Urán of EF Education Drapac got caught behind it, and he was quite lucky. The majority of his teammates stopped and then rode him back onto the peloton, allowing him to finish at the same time as the stage winner, who was the Colombian Fernando Guevara of Quick Floors, who won the first stage. Anyway, Taylor is a 28-year-old American pro who's been a professional cyclist since 2009 and currently riding with EF Education and Drapac. He's ridden 5 Grand Tours, including the Tour de France last year, and he comes from a strong pursuit background on the track. And Taylor specialises in time trials. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the key information. And you can literally see where the crash occurred, where his speed was sitting up in the 50-something k's an hour, and literally dropped down to 16.3. So he didn't physically crash, is my understanding of it. They just got caught in the fact that the crash occurred ahead of them, and it took a little bit of time to get round. Interesting, he wasn't involved in taking their team leader back up onto the peloton. It was pretty much all the other riders, so he may have actually been involved in the crash, or had just done the work he'd needed to do, and the team director told him to stand down. Because if we look leading up to that point, he's at a relatively high power output for, let's just look at this, the last hour, or just over an hour, he covered 51 k's, the normalised power of 349 watts. Which is reasonably high. Now he does have a functional threshold power of about the 420 watts based on my calculation. But if we look at before that, the rest of the stage, he was only riding at 262 watts as a normalised power. So a whole lot lower than what he did leading into that last hour. So he possibly had done his work, and the director sportif told him to just take it easy and cruise through to the finish. And he ended up finishing 157th place, 3 minutes 48 down on the stage winner. Let's get some of this Nebula stuff like temperature out of it. Cadence, oh, it's not nebulous, it just clutters up the screen. And also hide that. And so we can see where his effort picks up from sort of that 133k mark through to with a few kilometres to go. You can see the red, the heart rate's a lot higher in this section, and the power is a lot higher. It does have peaks back here early in the start, but it's not as high consistently. So for this section I've got highlighted there, 110 minutes worth. It's got a variability index of 1.19, which is at the low end of things for a road race, which is pretty significant in itself. Indicates he's spent a bit of time doing some work, probably on the front. Intensity factor of 0.86, so reasonably high. And let's just look leading up until that. So his normalised power has gone from 362 down to 262, so 100 watts less. Variability index is a lot higher, 1.30, and the intensity factor is 0.62, so a big drop there. If we look at some of his power outputs, with his FTP of around the 420 watts, he held that sort of for 5 minutes, and it looks like when he got to the front on this hill climb here at the 133k mark, or actually that will be the climb, depending on where exactly he started his bike computer. I think it's a Garmin he rides with, so that will be the category 4 climb. So that's where he did his hardest work. rode at its threshold for those five or above his threshold for those 5 minutes. In different shorter periods, that's where he put in his biggest effort. Well, the 20-second occurred a little bit later, might have been closing or bridging a gap, and yeah. But overall, 3 hours towards the end, the last 3 hours of his hard riding, 256 watts, which is well above what some mere mortals can hold for an hour, or as their functional threshold power. So it's a big step up from where the rest of the world operate in terms of capability wise. So that's pretty much the key features of Taylor's performance today. We'll check out the other video I'll do shortly on Matthew Hayman's power profile, but click up in the top left corner to subscribe, down in the bottom right corner to get more videos of me analysing the professionals' power profiles, and in the other two corners, YouTube's going to give you a couple of video options based on what you've watched previously. Hope you've enjoyed this video.